Nigeria-Australia relations is what we're focusing on now, and to discuss that, the Australian High Commissioner to Nigeria, Paul Lemon, joins us on Sunrise Daily. I want to thank you so much indeed for coming on Sunrise Daily and for being in Nigeria for 2 years, we understand.
I have indeed.
So what's your impression of this country so far?
Well, Nigeria is a treasure trove to discover for someone like me who hadn't actually been to Africa at all when I first arrived in Nigeria. To have the honour and the privilege to discover the diversity and the richness of Nigeria has been quite something.
So if you were going to do like a comparison between the two, what would you say are the similarities that you find that made your stay in 2 years, more comfortable and all?
Well, I think one of the things that it's really struck me is the warmth of the welcome that I see everywhere I go in Nigeria. So I've had the privilege to be able to visit most regions of the country. I'm getting around. I think I've been to about 18 states now, and everywhere I go it's the same. The warmth of the welcome, the breadth of the smiles, the colour of the outfits, it all says you are welcome, and that's something that I really treasure and I'll always remember, and it's a great national asset that I see here in Nigeria.
In terms of passion, one of the things that many would wonder is that the distance between Nigeria and Australia, it's poles apart. Would you say there are any similarities that should be built on in moving the relationship between the two countries forward?
We are geographically separated by enormous distance, that is very true, but there are many things that bring us together in terms of our shared values, some of our cultural heritage, our political and institutional linkages. These are things that transcend geography. So values and aspirations of Australians and Nigerians are very similar. So Nigerians, just like Australians, are looking for peace and prosperity and functional democracy in order to live their lives and to give better futures for their children. So that's something that transcends. We share many other things. We share obviously a language. We share passion for sport, for culture, for diversity. Like Nigeria, Australia is a multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi-religious society. So the diversity I see here has some resonances for me from my own experience coming from Australia.
So what would you say will be that take home when we have to look at the kind of bilateral ties you will have to build with Nigeria, or Nigeria build with you, on the other hand?
The way I see it is in this 21st century you have Nigeria as a powerhouse or an anchor for this region and for this continent. Similarly, Australia in our part of the world, in the Southwest Pacific and in the Indo-Pacific region, we are two nations who have responsibilities for leadership and development of our particular neighbourhoods and participating in those development efforts, not just at home but in our respective regions. And increasingly globally, I think Nigeria and Australia can do more together on the world stage because of the shared values and aspirations that I was talking about earlier.
You've seen some of the challenges that Nigeria face in terms of security in the terrorism of the northeast area of the country, and efforts to diversify the economy and look towards agriculture and try to strengthen that for food sufficiency and even for exports. What's your thinking along that line in partnership with this country?
Certainly one of my primary objectives is to explore ways that we can deepen and broaden the trade and investment relationship between Nigeria and Australia. And there is certainly expertise and other investment opportunities that Australian companies can potentially bring to Nigeria, particularly in the minerals and extractive sector. We certainly support the Nigerian government's aims to diversify the economy. In fact, that's something that the Australian government is also trying to do at home. So we understand that language and we want to participate in that, and we think that we have some particular skills, attributes and advantages that we can bring to that story here in Nigeria. As for the security question that you mentioned, obviously this is a complex one for Nigeria, but it's not just for Nigeria because these issues transcend national borders. They are indeed transcend continental boundaries, And of course the Australian government is committed to participating in international and regional efforts to combat the scourge of terrorism wherever it happens.
You talked about the cross-cultural things and areas where you can build, especially the economy. In 2012, there was an MOU that was signed between Nigeria and Australia as regards economy, science, technical and cultural cooperation in 2012. How far would you say that both countries have gone in working that memorandum of understanding?
I think we're starting to see some real progress in some of those areas, and one of the things that I am trying to do during my time here is to build those links further, institution to institution links, people to people links. Your viewers may be interested to know that since that time, over the last sort of 4 or 5 years, the number of Nigerians studying at Australia's world-class universities has quadrupled. So coming off a fairly low base, but Australia is actually the country with the 3rd largest population of international students in the world. So we are seeing more Nigerians taking advantage of our top-tier universities. We're seeing more engagement between the commercial sector, in some areas quite nascent, but still those links are growing. Looking at where we work in multilateral politics, in the UN councils that we happen to be members of together. For example, the UN Security Council a few years ago, and from 2018, the UN Human Rights Council. These are areas where Nigeria and Australia could, should and are doing more together.
Okay, would you be looking to have an exchange? Because you've talked about Nigerian students in Australia. You've talked about business concerns, business relations on both sides. Would we be looking to move or encourage movement of technology, business ideas, relations from Nigeria to Australia, and then vice versa? Is that an area you'd be looking at?
Absolutely. I think it's really critical to remember that the story about the trade and investment relationship has to be a two-way street. And both our economies are looking at diversification, and that includes in areas such as services, an exchange of ideas, knowledge, experience, not just products or raw materials, although that's always going to be important, but particularly for Nigeria and Australia. And we are both two countries that are commodity-based exporters. But if you look at the trends and the aspirations of where our two governments want to take our respective economies, and the aspirations of Nigerians and Australians themselves, it's around exchange of expertise, ideas, and knowledge. This is the knowledge century, and there's plenty of brain power in Nigeria, and we don't want to miss out on that. So there's value that we can bring, and things that we can learn from the Nigerian experience.